A rich person can walk into a room and never wonder if people notice them. They notice. The harder question is why? Is it respect, curiosity, opportunity, fear, or just the pull of money? So today, we're not talking about how rich people spend money. We're talking about what money does to the mind when life becomes more protected, more controlled, and harder to read. The strange part is, loneliness doesn't always come from having no one around. It can come from slowly losing the ordinary moments that tell you who is really there. At some point, being surrounded by people doesn't feel the same as being close to them. The first hidden cost of wealth is simple. When you can pay people to handle almost everything, you stop needing help from the people who love you. That sounds convenient, and of course it is. If the sink breaks, you hire a plumber. If the car acts up, someone fixes it or replaces it. If you are sick, food just shows up at your door. If the airport ride is annoying, a driver is already waiting. Most of us would love that. Nobody enjoys begging a cousin for a ride, calling a friend because the car died, or asking a neighbor to help with something embarrassing in the house. But those annoying moments serve a purpose. They give people a chance to show up for you. They also let your friends and family feel needed. That part matters. In normal life, helping each other is one way people stay close. A sister drives you to the doctor. A friend brings soup when you are sick. A neighbor helps move a heavy box. None of this is glamorous, but they say something important. You matter to me. For a very wealthy person, many of those moments disappear. The driver handles the ride, the assistant handles the schedule, the house staff handles the home, the delivery app handles the food. Life runs smoothly, but the people closest to them may not get many chances to be useful, needed, or involved. That can quietly change a relationship. Friends may feel like there's nothing they can offer. Family members may feel pushed to the side, even if nobody meant to push them there. The rich person may also forget how important it is to ask for ordinary help. There's a big difference between being served and being cared for. A paid worker can be kind, professional, and excellent at the job, but the relationship is still built around payment. A friend or family member helps for a different reason. They help because they care. That's the trade. Money can remove inconvenience. But sometimes inconvenience is where affection gets a chance to prove itself. And when every small problem is outsourced, life may become easier while the people around you slowly feel less needed. Money can quietly crack old friendships. Not because anyone turns into a jerk, it's just that life stops feeling shared. At first, nothing looks broken. The same group chat is there. The inside jokes still land. These are the people who knew the rich person before the nicer house, before the expensive dinners, before success became part of the introduction. That history matters. Old friends remember who someone was before money changed the room. But then lifestyle starts pulling everyone in different directions. A casual dinner becomes uncomfortable when one person suggests a restaurant the others would never choose on their own. A weekend trip gets harder when the plan moves from a cheap rental to a place that costs more than someone's monthly car payment. Even splitting the check can make the gap obvious. If the rich friend pays, the others may feel grateful but smaller. If everyone splits the bill, the rich friend barely notices, while the others feel the cost all week. Nobody has to say anything. The tension is already sitting at the table. This is why old friendships often fade without a fight. The wealthy friend may not be showing off. The old friends may not be jealous. Everyone may still care. But care alone doesn't always fix the feeling of being in different worlds. After a while, invitations slow down, replies get shorter, plans become vague. Someone says, "We should catch up soon," and the sentence starts sounding more polite than real. The loss goes deeper than fewer dinners or missed birthdays. The rich person is losing the people who remember the old version of them. Old friends are like a mirror from before success. They can look at someone and remember the broken apartment, the first job, the bad choices, the ordinary life before money made everything more complicated. When that mirror disappears, success can feel even lonelier, because the people who once made them feel most normal are now the hardest people to reach. Well, once someone becomes rich, meeting new people gets complicated fast. Old friends knew them before the money. New people usually meet them after it. That difference changes everything. A new person isn't only seeing their personality, they're also seeing the house, the reputation, the access, the lifestyle, and the doors that might open nearby. So the rich person starts asking a question most people don't have to ask so often. Do they like me? Or do they like what comes with me? That question can poison even a good moment. A compliment feels nice, but part of them wonders if it's calculated. A dinner feels friendly, but they may still ask why the invitation came so quickly. A romantic connection can feel exciting, then uncomfortable, because affection and ambition can look very similar around money. The worst part is that the suspicion is not always wrong. Sometimes a new friend really does wait for the right moment. For months, everything feels normal. Then the ask finally appears. Funding for an idea, a job for a cousin, a private introduction, or a favor that's framed as small but carries a lot of weight. After that happens enough times, the rich person starts replaying every new relationship in their head. Was the kindness real? Was the friendship real? Or was the whole thing slowly moving toward a request? This is how social self-defense begins. They don't stop talking to people, they just reveal less. Family problems stay private, doubt gets hidden. Stress gets turned into a shorter, safer story. From the outside, this can look like confidence. Inside, it's often exhausting, because when every friendly gesture might have a motive, trust becomes hard work. The tragedy is that many people probably are genuine, but the rich person can't always know that in time. So even kindness starts to look like a performance waiting for its cue. Moving through life that way gets lonely, fast, not fake, just tired of wondering whether people came for the person or the money standing next to them. So what happens when old friends feel farther away and new people are harder to read? A wealthy person often moves toward people who seem to understand the lifestyle. Private clubs, charity galas, investor dinners, golf weekends, where the game is somehow the least competitive thing happening. At first, this feels like relief. A second home can come up in conversation without making the table freeze. If someone mentions a private flight, nobody reacts like they just confessed to owning a moon base. For once, wealth is not the thing that makes them unusual. But that creates a new problem. In ordinary rooms, their money made them stand out. In elite rooms, money may only get them through the door. After that, the ranking begins. Who has more influence? Who gets the better invitation? Who is close to the person everyone wants 5 minutes with? There's the twist. They went looking for a place where wealth would make them less alone. Instead, they entered a world where wealth becomes the starting line. The competition doesn't always look aggressive. People can be charming, generous, and funny while still keeping track of status. A dinner may be enjoyable and still carry business pressure. A weekend trip can feel friendly while also showing who belongs in the inner circle. Nobody has to announce the scoreboard. The room already knows how to read it. And after a while, that gets exhausting. Someone may laugh with you on Friday and quietly move away from you 6 months later if your company takes a hit, your divorce gets messy, or your name starts coming up for the wrong reasons. They may still smile. They may still say, "We should catch up," but the warmth has changed. The calls get shorter. The invitations become easier to forget. The room doesn't kick you out. It just stops leaning toward you. For a normal viewer, this is easy to understand. We have all seen a lighter version of it. The friend group changes when someone loses a job. The office treats people differently after a promotion. The popular table in high school was basically a tiny, underfunded version of this. Rich people just play the same human game with bigger houses, better wine, and much higher stakes. So the rich person escapes loneliness from being different, only to meet loneliness from being compared. They finally find people who understand the lifestyle. The problem is, those people may also be measuring it. Money can make family life easier, but not always closer. In a normal family, trouble often turns into a shared memory. The car breaks down, everyone gets irritated, the plan falls apart, and somehow the family still makes it home. At the time, it's miserable. Years later, people laugh and say, "Remember that night?" Those stories matter because everyone went through the mess together. With serious wealth, the same problem ends before it becomes a memory. One phone call brings another car, a driver, or someone paid to fix it. Most of us would choose that version. But the rich family may miss the "we got through this together" feeling. When every problem gets solved too quickly, comfort can replace shared struggle. Then comes the other side of wealth. keeping it takes time. A lot of people imagine a rich life as endless vacations, but for many wealthy people, the money brings bigger pressure, bigger decisions, and a phone that never feels finished. Picture a rich parent at dinner with the family. They're sitting there, but their mind is on the lawsuit, the payroll issue, or the deal that might collapse tomorrow. The family sees the provider, but they still miss the version of that person who listens, laughs, and stays in the room long enough for a real conversation. A paid-off house can still feel lonely when every important talk has to compete with the next crisis. Providing can build a life, but attention is what makes people feel loved inside it. Now, wealth can make a person's problems sound strange to everyone else. Most people worry about bills that hit right now: rent, groceries, gas, tuition, and car payments. A wealthy person may not worry about those things anymore, but that doesn't mean their mind is peaceful. Their worries just move to a different level. Should they sell part of a company? What happens if tax laws change? Can they trust the advisor managing their money? Should they fire someone who has worked for them for years? Those problems may be serious, but try saying them out loud at a family barbecue. Everyone is talking about how expensive groceries have become. Then the rich person says, "My family investment fund lost millions this quarter." The whole table goes quiet. Someone may smile politely, while someone else may think, "Must be nice to have millions to lose." And honestly, most people would understand that reaction. When you are worried about rent, it's hard to feel bad for someone worried about private equity. So the rich person learns to edit themselves. They stop sharing the full problem. They shorten the story. They make the stress sound smaller than it is because they don't want to look spoiled, dramatic, or out of touch. Over time, silence becomes easier than explaining. But the pressure doesn't disappear just because nobody wants to hear it. Fear still feels like fear, and stress still follows them home. A bad decision can still hurt their family, their employees, or the business they spent years building. The lonely part is not that their problems are bigger, it's that their problems no longer fit into normal conversation. Everyone assumes money should make them fine, so when they're not fine, they often have nowhere honest to put it. Some loneliness comes from a life that's too easy to control. For most Americans, a lot of casual closeness starts through small inconveniences. You end up talking to the neighbor because their dog keeps escaping into your yard, or because the HOA meeting somehow turned into a group therapy session with folding chairs. At your kid's Little League game, you sit next to the same parent every Saturday until small talk slowly becomes real talk. At work, friendship can begin in the break room over bad coffee, a ridiculous meeting, or the shared experience of surviving one manager's favorite phrase, quick sync. Nobody schedules these relationships. Life just keeps putting people in the same ordinary places until they stop feeling like strangers. Wealth removes many of those places. A rich person can live behind a gate, avoid the PTA chaos, skip the carpool line, hire someone for every household problem, and build a social life only around people they deliberately choose. That sounds peaceful, but it's also isolating. The awkward stuff is gone, but so are the small human collisions that turn into friendship. No borrowed ladder, no random parent conversation after a kid's game, no office friendship built from shared complaints and reheated lunches. Their life may be cleaner, quieter, and more selective. But when money removes too much everyday friction, it also removes the kind of closeness people rarely plan on purpose. The rich person may still have friends. They just have fewer relationships that happen naturally before anyone had time to perform. So maybe the loneliness of wealth is not really about fake friends. It's about losing the messy little moments that make people feel close. Most real connections need some friction, helping a friend move, arguing with family, then making up, or listening to a neighbor talk too long when you were only trying to bring in groceries. None of that feels special while it's happening. Most of the time, it feels inconvenient, but those inconvenient moments teach people how to care, forgive, depend on each other, and stay. Money can remove a lot of that friction. It can buy privacy, service, comfort, and access to almost any room. What it can't easily buy is warmth. It can't buy trust. It can't buy the feeling that someone loves you before they know what you own. So no, the point is not to feel sorry for rich people. The point is to notice something in our own lives. The annoying family group chat, the dinner that runs too long, the friend who asks for help at the worst possible time. Maybe those things are not just interruptions. Maybe they're proof that we're still connected. Comfort is nice, but warmth usually comes from people. And people are almost always a little inconvenient. If you have ever seen money change a friendship, a family, or a whole personality, tell me in the comments. I read those stories, and honestly, they're usually the best part of videos like this.